Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor Fatter and this is going to be my spoiler-free review of The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is the fourth and final novel in Becky Chambers' Wayfarer series, which I'm slightly gutted by. This book was amazing. I absolutely loved this. It's a very, very quiet book, and if you've read Becky Chambers before, which you probably should have, this is the fourth book, you'll know that her stories aren't plot driven. They're very small, kind of slice of life moments in time with characters. It's a character based story, and Becky Chambers nails it, absolutely nails it. If you're looking for a very loud sci-fi that's very filled with drama and like politics and lots of action, this might not be the series for you. I would definitely recommend you look into it and check out if these books are for you. This book is set at the 5-hop one-stop on the planet Gora, where a few characters, ships have landed on the planet to be able to refuel and then move on to their final destinations. Something happens in the upper atmosphere and they all get trapped there for a short time. And it's a situation of these characters being forced together. They have to spend time with each other when otherwise they would be ships passing in the night, basically. And that's where this story starts. We are familiar with one character in this book called Pi. We've met her briefly in one of the other stories, maybe two of the other books. She's got a very brief mention, but she is one of the main characters in the story, and we do see from her point of view. We're also familiar with a few of the alien species that we know in here. In this book, we just learn a bit more about them, but there's also the introduction of new alien species that we don't have any experience with. So that's really excellent, is Becky Chambers' ability to just create and imagine these species and how intricate they are, and like their history and their backstory and how they kind of continue on their species, and just all these intricacies. Even their spaceships look different, their way of lives are different. It's just so intricate and detailed. So the plot of this story is a very, very small environment, and it just allows them all to kind of talk to each other and interact, and that's not what they all want. Some of them just want to be left alone. They've got a very hard journey ahead of them. In the beginning you don't really know what all their motivations are and where they're going and what's going on, but over time you do learn snippets and learn part of their histories and things, but it all blends together very well. It's not pointless backstory just for the sake of backstory. It does link into the present moment, and it's really lovely to learn all these things as the story goes on. But it's great to see that there is conflict in this book. It's not just a happy-go-lucky character story full of fluff. You've got all these different characters together. They all have different histories within the kind of galactic empire. They all have different stations of worth. So there is still kind of discrimination and tolerance issues, even out of the far reaches of the galaxy. That's still an issue between all these alien species. It's issues with like discrimination and like accessibility and things like that. So these are wider discussions that are had in this book, and not one of these characters is human, and there's only very brief mentions of humanity in this book. So I'm very sorry if you can hear the noises in the background. That's my cat being hyper. So none of these discussions had is about like us right now and humanity and from a human experience, because they're all aliens. But that's what makes some of the conversations had so interesting, because it is from like a living being's perspective. And so many of the conversations and discussions were really valid to today as well, and I just thought it was really brilliant to see in this context, and to see these problems and issues through different alien species lenses, because you have all these different points of view, and you all have they're all different species and have all different experiences and different like lifespans, and they've been treated differently culturally, and it was just really fantastic to see how all that came together and what all their opinions were on the goings on in the galaxy. I do love the very brief mentions they have of humanity. Is this whole kind of conversation they have about cheese and how disgusting all these species think cheese is, because like we make cheese out of like animals' milk, and then we leave it to ferment and rot, and then we eat it and enjoy it. But all these species in space thought that was disgusting, because milk to them, they wouldn't drink the milk of other animals or other creatures, and they definitely wouldn't like let it rot. So it's absolutely disgusting. So that conversation is really, really funny to me, and it made me laugh a lot. This book is so thoughtful and so introspective. All these characters, you have all their point of views, and they're all dealing with some sort of different struggle. And it's not the aim of the book to kind of solve all these problems, but you do learn about their situations, and you're in their heads a lot because they are stuck and they are worried about where their destination and when they can leave, and they're just wanting out because they want to go to where they're meant to be going, and there's lots of hard decisions to be made. So it's just a very introspective book, and you're in these characters' heads and you're experiencing their struggles with them, and that's what just makes this such a wonderful story. I read it in like barely 3 sittings. I read it so quickly just because I was just so moved by what was going on. I just got so attached to these characters, and I think that's really important, because you spend so much time with each character. It's very evenly split between all the point of views. You really need to actually get attached to them and enjoy their point of views and enjoy learning about them as people and about their species and how they exist. And I just think it's very, very beautiful. I loved how this wrapped up as well. I just thought it was really well done. This is the last book in the Wayfarers series, and I'm gutted because Becky Chambers has set up such an intricate world, and she could very easily continue to write more books in this universe. All these alien species she's created, they could all have books. She could go on and on and on, but that's clearly not what Becky Chambers' point was for this series. And I'm really sad that this will be it. So maybe we can hold out hope that in the future she might come back and write some more books in this world. But for now, this is it. And it was wonderful. This book does have a plot running through it. They get trapped. There's problems and solutions, other things going on. There's like a conclusion at the end. Things happen. Sorry for the big light change. The sun's obviously gone behind a cloud. That is running through it, but very clearly from the beginning, this book is a character study. It's about these people and about these species and about their ways of life. So if you like very plot-driven stories, which is what I usually think I am, except in this case, for this series, this might not be the book for you. You might think it's quite slow, you might not get the point, but for me, the point is the characters. You're supposed to connect to the characters, engage with them, love them, and really enjoy learning about everything going on in this world that Becky Chambers has created. And I just think she does it so well. With such a short book, she just creates a fantastic atmosphere and explains things in such a nuanced way. These are very complicated things she's talking about in terms of like space flight and space travel, but she's not writing a very word complicated sci-fi story, if that makes sense. The concepts are easy to understand, they're easy to engage, and if you're looking for a sci-fi series that's accessible, if you're put off by really dense sci-fis that are very technologically heavy and very like brainy the way they're written, this might be a really good gateway series for you to try adult sci-fi in a different format and see if you like it. And this might be a good way for you to see that you like this kind of space story, but not the likes of The Martian by Andy Weir. But anyway, this was my very gushy review of this book. I love this series so much, and it's one I'll continually recommend, and it's been out just over a week, this book, and I would really encourage you all to pick it up if you are a fan of the Wayfarer series. I would love to know if you've read this book down below, or if you've got it on pre-order, or if you're going to read it and what you thought of it. I would love to have a discussion with you in the comments about this book. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. Like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.